and welcome to a detailed explanation of how to install the Morrowind code patch, the Morrowind graphic extender, and the patch for Purists. At the end of the video, I will be putting in a list of mods that are very easy to install and work well together that are mostly graphic enhancers. But at the beginning of the video, the first 3 mods is just going to be the bare minimum essentials for vanilla for players new to the game. The reason why these mods are essential is because they fix bugs, they fix engine issues, and a lot of quality of life updates. But they're vanilla. They keep the vanilla game pretty much vanilla while fixing all the problems that the game has, or most of the problems anyway. So you're going to need a Nexus Mods account in order to do this, because that's where all these mods are, all the best mods. So once you've created a Nexus Mods account, you're going to want to go to the code patch first. So just type in something. You don't even have to type the whole thing in, just like code, and then the code patch comes up. So this is the Morrowind code patch page. Now it's important to note that there are 2 Morrowind code patch pages. One is a beta. That is not the one you want. That one has problems. You're going to want to go to the other most recent fully stable version, which is the first link that came up, called the code patch, last updated 14 May 2017. Now I'm going to show you how to install. So you go to Files, Main File, Manual Download, Slow Download, save the file to wherever you plan on saving it to. I have a download folder that I created for this purpose. Then you click up here if you're using Firefox. Well, whichever browser you're using, you open up this, you right click, you open the containing folder, or you can either do it this way, or you can just click on the file to open it right away. Now, in order to do the code patch, you're going to need a program called winrar in order to extract it, because it is a RAR file. So if you have that and you've gotten this far, next thing you're going to do is you're going to select this folder, hold down the control key, and then select the code patch. You don't need these text files. You can read them, you can open them and read them, but you don't need to extract them. So then what you do is you right click, go to extract to a specified folder. Then you want to find where your Morrowind program is. In my case, it's on my second drive in Steam. Steam Apps Common. I know, it's a long way to get to where the games are, at least if you have Steam. Then you go to this common. The common folder has all the games for Steam. Then you find Morrowind, and you just click Morrowind. You don't have to open it up. You don't have to go any further for the Morrowind code patch. It goes right into the main Morrowind folder. So I'm not going to do it because I already have it installed. So here you would click OK, and when you're installing any of these mods, you're going to want to, if it asks you to overwrite anything, always say yes for everything. Now that you have the code patch installed, you're going to want to go to the location of it, and you will find that in the location where you extracted it to. Steam, Steam Apps, Common, and Morrowind. So here you have the Morrowind code patch exe. Now you have to run this, otherwise it's not going to work. Just simply extracting it doesn't work. You have to actually come to your main Morrowind folder and open up the program. Okay, now there's a whole bunch of stuff in this code patch client that you need to know. You have all these different things. You have the bug fixes. They're all on. They're all checked by default. You don't have to mess with that. International, if you are playing different versions of the game for languages, you may want to select an option for that. If you need to know what any of these things do in the code patch client, what you do is you just click on something, and over on the right, patch description, and this gives you a very detailed description of what each change does. Now you have interface changes. If you don't know what any of this stuff does and you're not sure what you're doing, you can just skip this. There's a bunch of these things that are on by default, but there may be a few things in here that are off which you might want. All you got to do is you just click each of these items and read the descriptions, and if it sounds like something that you want, then turn it on. Mod specific. Now, this is if you have certain mods that need these changes in order for the mods to work. So they're not all like that, but most of these are for, like, let's say you get a mod. The mod most of the time the mods will say in their description somewhere that you need to activate a checkbox for a certain thing in the code patch somewhere, and then you would just go and you would find that in here in this mod specific list, and then you would turn it on. There are maybe one or two in here that actually honestly they should be in the game mechanics section, like this one here. The NPC casts 0 cost powers. In the vanilla game, NPCs do not use their racial abilities because they're 0 cost, and the vanilla game, for some weird reason, doesn't have 0 cost power abilities in their system for NPCs to choose. Well, this fixes that. It can make the game a little more challenging. It's not that much more challenging. I like it. That's why I have it turned on. But it says right here, no, not recommended for newer players, so if you're new to the game, you might not want to do this. So this just turns on the ability for NPCs to use their racial abilities. Visuals, these are easy. You just look at them. You know, I usually don't change them. Then you have the game mechanics. Most of these game mechanics, probably more than half of them are off by default, because some of these things do change the game a bit more. So it's up to you. Like I said, go through each one of these and read the descriptions and see if it's something that you want to be changed in your game. Now, once you've done that, once you've gone through and selected the ones you want to come down here at the bottom and click this button. This is a big button called Apply Chosen Patches. It does it very fast. See, analyzing, applying the 4 gigabyte patch. Yes, I should mention that too. This mod adds the 4 gigabyte patch so that the game runs better. So you don't have to get the 4 gigabyte patch separately. It comes with the code patch. And that's it. Then you then you can close this. Now, if you're playing the game and you find that you don't like some of the changes, you can come right back in here, open this back up, uncheck things that you don't like, or check things that you think you might like again, and then just apply your chosen patches again. That's very simple. Very easy to do. Now, next thing you want is that you're going to want the graphic extender. Now I have to make a special note here. There are 2 mods that have almost the exact same name. If you type in Morrowind's graphic extender in here, you're going to get a different mod. And that's not the graphic extender, even though it has the same name. What you need to type in the search bar is the abbreviation MGE. And it comes right up with MGEXE as the very first option. Now, they just updated this from the beta on May 15th, only a couple days ago. However, it has problems, so I don't recommend that you get that. In order to get the most stable version, you want to click on the files. Sorry, actually you want this one. For some weird reason, this old file is way down on the list rather than at the top, but it's actually this one right here, the 15th June 19th version 0116. That's the one you want. My bad. Slow download. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's the same as with the code patch. You extract it to the main Morrowind folder, not the data folder, the main folder. And once you've done that, then you would go to your main Morrowind folder, find your MGEXE right here, and you would start it up. And you have to do this because, like the code patch, you have to run the program in order to make it work. Now, this is a little more complicated, has a lot of options. By default, it is on borderless window, I think. Wait, no, by default it's I forget, honestly, but you should have it on borderless, because this is what allows you to alt tab out of Morrowind. And shaders will be off by default. You can turn them on if you want to. I recommend it if you have a good enough computer. And when you do enable the shaders, you want to click the shader setup. The easiest thing to do is to pick a preset based on how well you think that your computer will run. I just put mine on very high. I turn off the depth of field because I really don't like that. And not in Morrowind anyway. It just doesn't look very good to me. The whole distance blurring is very annoying to me. But that's up to you. If you want to know what these do, hover over them. It tells you what they do. Kind of a little brief description of what now this button right here, modding, you don't got to do that. This is a completely unnecessary part of this feature. So once you've got that, you save it. Now if you want to display your frames per second, you can. Frame limiter, if you want to limit the frames, if you're having problems, you may want to limit your frames. I have never had to, but some people have. The anisotropic filtering is on by default at like it's ×8. I turn it off just for better performance, but it's up to you. The FOV, that's field of view, The default, if you hover over it, it'll tell you right there in the description. Morrowind's default is 75, but the graphics extender sets the default at a higher number, which personally doesn't look very good to me. So I always turn this off and set it back at the Morrowind default of 75, which to me looks much better. Now for the big one. Oh, also the resolution. Whatever you set here overrides the in-game resolution. So, like if you change it in the game launcher, this will override that, and this is where you can increase it or decrease it to a bunch of different resolutions that the vanilla game doesn't support. Next is the distant land, and this is a major one. There's a lot of you have to do this. This is a very important part of this mod. And just as a recommendation, unless you know what you're doing, I suggest you do not change any of these settings. So what you need to do is you need to run the distant land generator wizard. Now, if you have mods installed, you're going to have a list here. What you do, it's best to just select all of them. But there is one exception to this. If you have installed a mod that adds grass to the game, you cannot. Well, you have to put that in here, but in the game launcher itself, you have to leave it unchecked, because if you check the grass mod in the game launcher, you have a problem with collision. So you want to run the distant land generator and add the grass here, but in the launcher you don't want it checked. I know that may sound confusing, but when I get to the launcher, I'll show it to you again, because I have, well, not in this one, but and I'll get there. I'll show you when I get there. So check everything. Continue. Now, the first time you do this, you do not get this option right here. It's automatic setup everything. The first time you do it, it goes through the manual installation. So the land textures, again, do not change these if you don't know what you're doing. Even if you have a really, really good computer, I recommend that you do not change these, at least until you understand how this mod works. Now, if you do change them, remember what the setting is, because if you screw up and you change something and then your game runs like crap, or you crash or have massive stuttering, you're going to want to remember to come back and run this distant land generator again to fix it. So now down here it's doing that. Now this is again another one. Just because you have a really computer doesn't mean you should change this. I recommend you don't. I recommend you do not change these settings at all, especially if you've never done this before. Once this is done, then this will come up, create land meshes. Once that's done, create statics. Distant statics files already exist. If you recreate them, the existing files will be deleted. Do you wish to continue? So if you've already installed this and you're running this again, then yeah, you'll have to overwrite. You have to delete you have to do this to delete the old ones. This takes a minute or two. Now, one thing to note, anytime you add more graphic replacers to the game, any more graphical mods, you should run this distant land generator set up again every time you change graphics in the game. So if you add some stuff later on, you'll have to run this again. It doesn't always, you don't always have to, but it's best to just do it again just in case. And all you see, if you've already done the distant land generator wizard once, you can just click it, turn on all these, continue, and it automatic set up everything, and then it just goes through the whole thing that you just did. It just does it automatically with the previous settings that you had set. Pretty easy to do. One other thing too about the graphics extender mod. By default, it comes with the Morrowind's script extender, or MWSE. This right here, MWSE. It installs with the graphic extender. Something you need to know though. If you're using this older version of the graphic extender, do not do this, or you will have problems. When you install it, leave it alone. Don't ever use this update exe, because it could cause problems. Now these other tabs, you have. Now there is one thing here you want to turn on. Actually, this option right here, allow yes to all load errors. So when you add or take away mods from a save game, you will get load errors, and it's not a big deal. It's just that your save game is telling you, hey, we aren't finding such and such files or meshes or whatever. Do you wish to continue running the game? And this will allow you to click a button saying yes to all, instead of having to click 1,000 times to say yes to each error. But in most cases, your game will still run with a old save, and then all you have to do is just click yes to all, and then once the game starts up, then you make a new save, and then all the errors go away. And if you have other issues, I don't predict any problems, but because I have never had them. I've never had to disable these. I've heard some people have, but I never have for any reason. Probably for certain mods that cause a problem. But usually I don't have to change anything else in any of these settings. And I don't recommend that you do, because you could screw it up. In the config, again, don't mess with anything. And this right here is just a little guide to installing. And that's it. So, and again, if you add other graphical mods, I suggest you come back here and run that land generator wizard again. Now the third essential mod is patch for Purists. So you just come in here, you just type patch, and then you'll find patch for Purists right here, just down here. Now this one's a different installation. You download it, manual download, slow download. Click OK. This is also another winrar file. You just click it to open it. Now, you don't need all of these when you install. You could get them all, but you don't need them all. I personally will get everything except for these two. Well, maybe book typos. But the semi-purist fixes are like some game setting modifications, things that aren't vanilla, so it's optional. You don't really need them personally. You can get them if you want, but I recommend not getting them if you want the game to be vanilla. And then again, you would right click, extract to specified folder, go to your Morrowind, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Morrowind, and this time you go to the data files because this is where this mod goes. Then you would click OK. Now again, always click yes to all, and that's it. Now you're ready to play the game. So you open up Morrowind. Now you'll click, before you do this, you're going to want to click data files, and then you'll want to put a check next to all the mods you installed except for the grass mod, any grass mod. So right here I've got this grass mod. You have it checked when you're running the distant land generator, but when you open the launcher, do not check it. That is how you install a grass mod. That's how it's supposed to be. Because if you check this, it makes all the grass in the game have collision, and that's a big problem, so don't do that. So then you click OK, and then you start the game. And if everything is installed correctly, the game should run just fine. Now, those are the 3 essential mods. Now, for my personal mod list. If you don't care about my own personal mod list, you can skip. This video is done. But if you want my personal mod list, and these are 95% just graphics improvements, my own, what I consider to be the best. It's not a complete list, because there's probably, probably another dozen or more mods out there that improve graphics here and there that I have never found or have tried. But you can overhaul the graphics of your game pretty much entirely just by going through this list here. I'm going to put all of this into the video description, but I will point out a couple of important things to know about this list. There are a few overlaps, just minor overlaps. So like if you like these Darknet overhauls, in particular the weapons one. So this one changes all the weapons of the game, but there's a couple of other weapon mods that only just do certain groups of weapons that I like better. So I have them down here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, like Insanity's Dwemer weapons are more. I like these Dwemer meshes better than the Darknet ones, and also these Ebony weapons. But it's easy. You can get both. You just have to install things in a certain order. Now, the way I've ordered these, it will fix those overlaps. So you install, if you do this, install these mods in the order in which I have them on my list. And if you get any mods that say that they need to overwrite, just always click yes to all, and that will take care of it. Down at the bottom, I have 5 optional non-graphical mods, which I highly recommend. If you're not trying to do a pure vanilla gameplay. Alternate main menu. This just gives you a different graphic for the main menu. Looks better than the original in my opinion. Fair Magicka regen. This will give your character a slow Magicka regen like the later Elder Scrolls games have. Graphic herbalism. This allows you to open plants to collect alchemy ingredients without having to treat it like a container, which is extremely annoying in the vanilla game if you're trying to collect alchemy components from plants. this makes it so much easier. Mad Leveler. If you don't want to waste time trying to get the +5s, the +5 level points on each level up, then you're going to want this Mad Leveler. It completely eliminates the whole +5 min-maxing system and lets you just play the game without ever having to worry about that. Highly recommended. Hand-to-hand fix. This just makes hand-to-hand actually viable, because in the vanilla game, hand-to-hand is pretty terrible. You're in the code patch, you'll find a hand-to-hand option in the code patch, and if you use this hand-to-hand fix, you do not turn on the option in the code patch, because that'll break it. So you would leave that unchecked in the code patch if you use my hand-to-hand fix here. And that's pretty much it. I will say too that if you look for verts, if you type in verts in the on the Nexus mods, you will see a lot of verts mods, and not all of them are. There's some of them that you don't want because they are either older. I don't know why, but verts leaves up everything, even the ones that he's gotten updates for. It's weird, but anyway, these are the links to all the most updated versions of his mods, so you don't have to do a manual search of them. You can just use this list right here and you'll get all the most updated tree replacers that he's created. And yeah, that's about it. Make sure you read the descriptions and installation instructions for each mod. If you find something that confuses you, make sure you look at the descriptions and installation instructions for any of these mods so that you can understand how to install them. Especially if you're using the Mad Leveler. The Mad Leveler has several ESPs, but the ESPs some of them are for specific compatibilities with other mods, and you don't need them, and some of them overlap or replace the others. So make sure you read through the README of the Mad Leveler so you know which ESPs to have in your game and which ones you shouldn't. Other than that, I think that just about covers everything. So I hope you enjoy.